The clock struck 11:45 a.m. at the JPMorgan Chase Bank in Boston, Massachusetts. The atmosphere buzzed with activity. Men in suits shuffled papers and sipped coffee, while a few women exchanged polite smiles as they waited in line. Behind the counter, tellers worked efficiently in a steady rhythm. At her desk, Charlotte Hartwell, a bank manager with over 20 years of experience and a reputation for no-nonsense professionalism, was reviewing loan applications when the sound of the door opening caught her attention. A tall man entered, wearing a red baseball cap with bold white letters that read, "Make America Great Again." His casual demeanor contrasted sharply with the otherwise formal air of the bank. He carried a small briefcase and stood in line, his eyes scanning the room. Charlotte tightened her jaw. That hat, to her, symbolized division and hostility. Memories of a heated political argument between customers last month flashed in her mind. She leaned toward her assistant manager, Emily, and whispered, "Keep an eye on that guy. We don't need any trouble." Then it was his turn. The man approached Charlotte's desk. "Good afternoon," he said politely. "I need to make a withdrawal from my account." Charlotte glanced at his paperwork but couldn't focus. Her attention was fixed on the hat. Sliding the documents back toward him, she coldly responded, "I'm sorry, we can't process your request today." The man blinked in surprise. "Is there an issue with my account?" "No," Charlotte replied curtly, "but we reserve the right to refuse service if we deem it necessary." After a brief pause, the man met Charlotte's gaze steadily, then quietly gathered his documents, adjusted his hat, and walked out of the bank. His calm departure intrigued the surrounding customers. Some nodded in agreement with Charlotte, while others exchanged puzzled glances. As the glass door closed behind him, Charlotte tried to maintain her composure, though tension lingered in the air. Emily leaned closer and whispered, "Do you think that was necessary?" Charlotte's reply was firm. "We're not letting this place turn into a political battleground." Outside, the man paused on the sidewalk, glancing briefly back at the bank through the large windows. His expression was unreadable as he turned and walked away. A few customers near the entrance murmured to each other. "Who was that guy?" an older gentleman asked. "Seemed polite enough," a woman replied with a shrug. "Doesn't matter, businesses can set their own rules." Charlotte overheard snippets of the conversation, but kept her eyes on her computer screen, pretending to be unfazed. Still, her fingers trembled slightly as she typed. The man's calm demeanor unsettled her more than an angry confrontation would have. Most people in his situation would have argued, raised their voices, or even demanded the corporate complaint number. But this man, he simply left, calm, composed, almost too composed. Throughout the day, the incident became the talk of the branch. As employees clocked out, Charlotte overheard whispers. "Did you see his face? Not even mad," one teller said to another. "I bet he'll come back. People like that usually do," the other replied. Charlotte brushed off the chatter and locked her office door behind her. As she drove home, the image of the man's deliberate, quiet departure replayed in her mind. She turned on the radio, hoping to drown out her thoughts, but the nagging feeling remained. Tomorrow, she told herself, would bring clarity. Or at least she hoped it would. The morning sun bathed the JPMorgan Chase Bank in Boston in a warm golden glow, but inside the atmosphere remained tense. Charlotte arrived early as usual, coffee in hand, trying to push away the lingering unease from the previous day. "It's just another Thursday morning," she reassured herself. "He won't come back." By mid-morning, as the flow of customers began to slow, Charlotte felt her confidence returning. The unsettling incident seemed like a distant memory, until precisely 10:30 a.m. when the door swung open. He was back. The man entered, but this time he wasn't alone. Flanked by two men in sharp suits, his presence commanded immediate attention. Charlotte froze, her heart skipping a beat. He still wore the red cap, but his demeanor was markedly different, calm, confident, and composed. Emily leaned toward Charlotte, whispering urgently, "Charlotte, that's Elon Musk." Charlotte's breath caught. "You've got to be kidding," she murmured. But the unmistakable recognition in Emily's eyes and the man's composed stature confirmed what Charlotte couldn't deny. As he approached, the reality hit her hard. It was Elon Musk. Elon stopped in front of Charlotte's desk, removed his cap slowly, and locked eyes with her. A heavy silence blanketed the room. Not even the faint hum of printers could be heard. "Good morning," Elon said, his voice calm yet piercing. "I'd like to say a few words." Charlotte forced a professional smile. "Mr. Musk, she began, but he raised a hand, his tone steady yet firm. "Let's not pretend this didn't happen. Yesterday, I came here as a regular customer, and you refused to serve me. Not because of my actions, but because of what you assumed I represent." The room remained silent as Elon continued. "This hat," he said, holding it up slightly, "is just fabric and thread. But to some, it's a symbol. To others, it's a target. And yesterday it was enough for you to deny me service without any specific reason." Charlotte's cheeks flushed. She wanted to explain, to defend herself, but the words wouldn't come. Elon glanced around the room, his voice carrying a weight that compelled everyone to listen. "I didn't come here to shame anyone," he said. "I came to remind all of us that the world is far more complicated than we think. We don't know everyone's story, we don't know their intentions. And when we let assumptions guide us, we risk missing out on something extraordinary." Charlotte felt as though the ground beneath her had vanished. Her voice wavered as she finally spoke. "I didn't mean to offend you. I thought I was protecting the bank." Elon tilted his head slightly, his voice now gentle but resolute. "Protecting it from what? A customer trying to withdraw money from his own account?" The question hung in the air, unanswered. The silence was thick, charged with unspoken realizations. Elon's gaze slowly swept across the room, finally resting on a young teller in the corner, who looked as though she wished she could disappear. "What's your name?" Elon asked. "Lauren," the teller stammered, her voice barely audible. "If someone came in here," Elon continued, "wearing something you didn't agree with, what would you do? Would you judge them by their appearance, or would you take the time to understand who they are?" Lauren hesitated, her eyes darting toward Charlotte before she replied, I'd try to treat them like anyone else." Elon nodded approvingly. "But that's a good answer, but is much harder to put into practice, isn't it?" Charlotte wished desperately for the moment to end, but Elon wasn't finished. He turned back to her, his tone softening even further. "Charlotte, I don't think you're a bad person, but assumptions can be dangerous. They can hurt people. They can close doors we didn't even know were open." Charlotte's voice cracked as she whispered, "I didn't mean to..." Her words trailed off. Elon regarded her thoughtfully. "I understand. But the question remains. What were you protecting the bank from? A customer trying to access his own funds?" The room fell silent again. Elon's words hanging heavy in the air, impossible to ignore. Charlotte felt her cheeks flush with shame. She wanted to defend herself, to explain that the hat had become a symbol of conflict, that she had only been trying to prevent chaos. But faced with Elon's calm demeanor and unyielding logic, Every excuse she considered fell flat. "The important thing," Elon began, his voice measured but loud enough for the entire room to hear, "is that every action we take sends a message. Yesterday, the message I received was, 'You don't belong here.' And I suspect I'm not the first person to feel that way at this bank, am I?" Whispers rippled through the crowd. A few people nodded subtly, while others avoided eye contact. Elon's words made Charlotte's stomach churn. This wasn't just about him. It was about every customer who had ever felt judged, excluded, or diminished for reasons beyond their control. Leaning slightly against the counter, Elon's gaze locked onto Charlotte. "The good news," he continued, his tone softening, "is that we can do better. That's why I'm here, not to punish, but to remind all of us that we always have a choice in how we treat people." For the first time, Charlotte felt a faint glimmer of hope. Perhaps this moment, humiliating as it was, could lead to something meaningful. But Elon wasn't finished. Standing tall, he motioned to one of the men accompanying him. The man stepped forward with a sleek black briefcase, opened it, and retrieved a single sheet of paper. Elon held it up, his voice clear and deliberate. "This is a pledge of donation. I've decided to contribute $500,000 to the Boston Community Relief Fund. This bank has been a key partner in supporting local charities, and I want to ensure that continues." Gasps filled the room. Charlotte stared at the document, her shame now mingling with disbelief. A few employees hesitantly clapped, unsure of how to respond. Elon, undeterred, continued speaking. "This donation isn't about me," he said, his tone warm yet firm. "It's for this community. And it's a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference, regardless of our backgrounds, our beliefs, or the hats we wear." He placed the paper on the counter and slid it toward Charlotte. "I trust you'll ensure this money gets to where it's needed." Charlotte's hands trembled as she picked up the document. I don't know what to say," she stammered. Elon offered a faint smile. "Then don't say anything. Let your actions speak for you." With that, he turned and walked away, leaving the room in stunned silence. As soon as he exited, the room erupted in murmurs and hushed conversations. Charlotte remained at her desk, her eyes fixed on the pledge in her hands. In her mind, Elon's words echoed repeatedly. "We all have the power to make a difference, regardless of the hats we wear." News of the incident spread rapidly. By the afternoon, social media was flooded with posts from customers who had been at the bank, accompanied by headlines from local news outlets such as, "Elon Musk calls out bias at bank, donates $500,000 to community fund." Charlotte's phone rang incessantly with calls from corporate headquarters demanding an explanation. She spent hours drafting an official statement, carefully balancing accountability with damage control. The bank issued a public announcement praising Musk's generosity, but it did little to fully quell the public outcry. Meanwhile, the local community buzzed with activity. The Boston Community Relief Fund, which had long struggled to secure sufficient funding, suddenly received dozens of inquiries about Musk's donation. Evelyn Parker, the fund's director, held an emotional press conference. "This donation is a game changer," she said to reporters. "It will allow us to expand our programs, support more families, and create a lasting impact in the community." At the bank, Charlotte wrestled with the aftermath. Some customers avoided her gaze, while others offered quiet words of encouragement. One long-time customer, Mr. Hargrove, stopped by her desk. "Everyone makes mistakes, Charlotte," he said kindly but firmly. "What matters is what you do next." His words brought tears to her eyes. "I know," she replied shakily. "I never imagined something like this could happen." Determined to make amends, Charlotte volunteered to work with the charity to oversee the allocation of the funds. She also organized a staff meeting, openly addressing the incident and encouraging her team to reflect on their own biases. "We need to do better," she told them, "not just for ourselves, but for our customers as well." The incident quickly became a topic of national discussion, sparking mixed reactions. Some praised Elon Musk's calm and composed approach, while others criticized the bank's initial handling of the situation. What was clear, however, was that the event had ignited a broader conversation about ethics and prejudice. For Charlotte, the experience became a deeply personal lesson. She enrolled in inclusion workshops and encouraged her staff to do the same. Within weeks, the Boston Community Relief Fund thrived, attracting new donors and rolling out initiatives, including a financial literacy program for low-income families, ironically in partnership with the same bank. Elon Musk declined to comment further on the incident, offering only a brief statement. "The moment spoke for itself. Let's move forward." Still, his actions became a case study in corporate training and a focal point in articles and opinion pieces, a testament to the power of second chances, and a warning against the dangers of bias. One afternoon, Charlotte heard a familiar voice behind her. "Excuse me, Charlotte." It was Mr. Hargrove, handing her a small envelope. Inside was a handwritten note. "Pride may break us, but humility can rebuild us. You've done well." Charlotte smiled, gratitude washing over her. She had been given a chance to rebuild, not just her reputation, but her values. And she was determined to make the most of it. The story of the bank manager and Elon Musk serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of humility, understanding, and the opportunity to correct mistakes. It's a call to action for all of us to challenge our biases, treat others with respect, and remember that our actions ripple far beyond the present moment. If this story has touched your heart, we'd love for you to share its message by liking and sharing it with your friends. Help us reach our first milestone of 1,000 subscribers. It means the world to us and allows us to create more meaningful stories for you. Don't forget to share your thoughts about the story and let us know which city you're watching from. Thank you for your support, and we'll see you in our next story.